Hi everyone, welcome to the first webinar conducted by TCS Online in lieu of the upcoming operational case study examinations happening in May 2022. My name is Nick and I'm one of the lead tutors as well as evaluators at TCS Online, and I specialize in the operational case study. So before we commence the session, let me talk about what I'm going to cover as part of this session. There are 3 webinars which will be conducted by TCS, and this is webinar number 1. And in this session, I will be talking about how you need to prepare for the operational case study examination. So that's why I've said that this is the exam prep session. And I'm pretty sure that there are students who had joined this session, joined this webinar, and these students might be doing the operational case study for the first time. So you need to know or have an in-depth understanding about the structure of the examination, as well as what type of content will be tested and how marks are allocated and whatnot. So that's what I'm gonna discuss in today's session. And also note that your pre-seen document, which gives you information pertaining to the company on which the operational case study is going to be based on, will be released next Friday. So you have 7 days until next Friday. And I would ask you to watch this video once more, because I'll be uploading the recorded session onto YouTube. So watch this video once more and prepare yourself within the coming week before the pre-scene is released. All right. So session outcomes. So this session is divided into 3 main areas. In area number 1, I will be talking about the exam structure, talking about what type of a structure is adopted by CIMA, and what type of a mark allocation is there, the time allocation and whatnot. In the second part, I will be talking about marking criteria, because it's of utmost importance that you know how the examiner is allocating marks, because you need to know the psychology of the examiner to figure out how you can end up passing the operational case study hassle-free. And as the third part of this session, I will be taking you through examiner's comments based on the examiner's report. The CIMA examiner puts out a report after every session, highlighting the main areas students need to focus upon to successfully pass the examination. So I'll be highlighting these areas as well. And at the very end of today's session, there will be a Q&A session where you can ask questions from me. So until we end up at the Q&A session, I would kindly request you guys to keep your videos and the mics on mute, so that there won't be any hindrances throughout this session. And once we reach the Q&A session, you can switch on your mic and ask me questions. And whilst going through the session, if some question comes up, you can always jot it on the chat section, so that whilst I'm doing the Q&A session, I'll address all your concerns. Right. So let's first look at the pathway to OCS. There are 2 main pathways. Paths number 1 is with regards to the general route of CIMA. So this is an instance where students had done their OTQ exams pertaining to E1, F1 and P1, and your next step is the operational case study. And the second route to CIMA, the case studies, is with regards to the FLP program, or the Finance Leadership Program. This is an exemption route. Students who had completed a bachelor's degree in finance or management can straight away come to the operational case study examination. All right, so let's try to figure out the nitty-gritties of the exam. It's a PC-based exam, and the time allocation in total is 3 hours, and your paper or your examination paper will be divided into 4 main tasks, each task carrying a time allocation of 45 minutes. Okay, so 45 minutes into 4, that comes up to 3 hours. And the pass mark which you need to achieve is 80 marks out of 150, because you would be allocated marks out of 150, or in other terms, you need to score 54, a percentage of 54% to pass the exam. All right, so let's look at the overview of the exam. Information is provided about a fictitious company in advance as part of a pre-seen document. So the examiner will be providing you with a pre-seen document, and I said that your pre-seen for the May examinations will be released next Friday. And in a typical pre-seen document which is prepared by the examiner for the OCS examination, there will be 4 main areas. It will be divided into 4 main areas. In area number 1, you would get an introduction to the company, and the examiner will be highlighting about the organizational structure, the history of the company, what it had done in the past, as well as what they are planning to do in the future and whatnot. The examiner will give you an elaboration about the type of leadership within the organization, talking about the different types of directors within the considered company. So that's what appears in the introduction part. In the second part, the examiner will highlight the nitty-gritties of the company, highlighting what happens within different departments of the organization, what happens in finance, HR, IT, marketing, and whatnot. And most importantly, the examiner will highlight the ethos of the company, what the company believes in. The examiner also highlights what the company is trying to achieve with regards to their mission statements, the vision and whatnot. And on top of that, most importantly, the examiner will be highlighting about the type of products or services offered by the company and what type of customers the company is focused upon selling these products and services. So that appears as part of the as the second part of the pre-seen document, where the examiner will be talking about the nitty-gritties of the company. Then the third part consists information about the industry dynamics. So the examiner will be highlighting about the type of competitors, the number of competitors, the market share of competitors, the type of stakeholders we are supposed to deal with, what type of customers we are supposed, the players in the industry are dealing with, or the type of customers serviced. And on top of that, the other major stakeholders such as the distributors, suppliers, finance providers and whatnot. All this information appears as part of the industry dynamics. And in the fourth and the last part of your pre-seen, the examiner will be providing you financial statements or information pertaining to the financial performance of the company. So you would get your hands on the statement of profit and loss, the statement of financial position or the balance sheet, as well as the statement of cash flows. And after the publicized financial statements are provided, the examiner will also provide budgeted information, talking about the budgeted revenues, the costs, the cost allocations and whatnot. And the examiner will be providing a standard cost card, an excerpt of the standard cost card as well, which can be used to figure out the percentage of direct costs as well as overheads of the organization, because understanding these things is of utmost importance when providing answers in your examination. Okay, so in order to understand the pre-seen properly, I urge you to attend webinar number 2, where I'll be doing a pre-seen analysis. Please note that I won't be taking you through the entire pre-seen. Instead, I'll be just focusing on a small area of the pre-seen. Hopefully, after the session, you'd know how to decrypt the information which appears on a pre-seen. Okay, so that's that. And in the exam, you are required to address issues or questions relating to the operations of the company. So the examiner gives you a pre-seen. It has information about the introduction of the company, what the company is up to, industry dynamics, as well as the financial performance. So after you had gained all this knowledge, at the exam, on the date of the exam, you are supposed to provide solutions or answers to issues faced by the company. Okay, so when the examiner is coming up with tasks, or when the examiner comes up with issues the company has faced, the examiner is trying to test whether you have a good understanding about the company as well as its industry. All right, so you need to know these two things. So as I told you earlier, in the pre-scene there's hordes and hordes of information about the company, so you need to know which of the information is really serious and which of the information you can leave out, because you can't memorize or remember the entire pre-scene. You need to know to take the most important points out and remember them. There's absolutely nothing for you to worry there, because we at TCS, we prepare something called the annotated pre-scene. I will be showing you a sample at the very end of today's session, and by going through the annotated pre-scene as well as the pre-scene analysis, I said that there are 4 videos. So by going through the pre-scene analysis videos, you would know the most important points you need to remember, which makes your life easier. And on top of that, just having knowledge about the company as well as the industry won't help you at the exam. You need to know how to apply your knowledge which you have gained through your OTQ syllabus content, or in other terms, how to relate to E1 knowledge which you have gathered through E1, P1 and F1 syllabuses. So there might be students who had aced their OTQ exams. Just because you aced your OTQ exam, it does not mean that you can pass the case study easily, because you need to know how to bring in all this knowledge which you have gained from the syllabus content and apply it to the question which is highlighted in your case study examination. So application is tested, application of theoretical content, technical knowledge is tested. On top of that, the examiner is trying to figure out whether you had understood the pre-scene appropriately. So understanding your company as well as the industry, and having an understanding about how to apply knowledge which you have gained through E1, P1 and F1 related areas are of utmost importance. Okay, so let's try to figure out what type of a role you are supposed to play at the real exam. You are supposed to play the role of a finance officer. So let's try to understand where the finance officer is located within the organizational hierarchy. So the finance officer is at the operational level of the organization. As you know, any given organization has 3 tiers. Out of that, the last tier is the operational level. So you are at the lowest level of the organization. And since you are at the lowest level of the organization, you are expected to have a moderate level of application and practical thinking at the OCS examination. Okay, so you are at the lowest level of the organization. You are supposed to provide suggestions or assist the senior management team of the organization. So a moderate level of application and practical thinking needs to be shown in your examination. So theoretical knowledge is heavily tested, mainly because this is the operational case study. So you need to know your E1, P1 and F1 syllabus content. A higher amount of weightage is provided for P1 and F1. So you need to know your theoretical content, because that is what's mainly tested at the operational level. In contrast, if you look at an examination such as the strategic case study or the SCS, a higher level of weightage is provided for practical thinking rather than technical knowledge. However, at the operational level, a higher weightage is provided for technical knowledge. So technical knowledge or theoretical concepts will be tested heavily, and your practical decision making will be extremely limited. Why am I saying this? Because as a finance officer, you are supposed to report to your finance manager. So the finance manager is part and parcel of the senior management team of the organization. So the senior management team takes decisions within the organization. So before implementing these decisions, they will ask you for your opinion. So for instance, let's assume that the company is or the senior management team of the company is considering about changing the costing system. Let's assume that the company has something like an absorption costing system, and the senior management team is pondering whether the company needs to shift to something like activity-based costing. So in such a context, they'll ask your opinion about it. So you are not supposed to provide recommendations as a finance officer. Rather, you are supposed to share your thoughts and opinions with the senior management team. So decision making is extremely limited, but theoretical knowledge is heavily tested. You need to understand that. Then let's look at the marking criteria, how marks are allocated to you. 2 markers will allocate marks before the final mark is finalized. So your paper will be marked by 2 individuals, and the marks allocated by these 2 markers will be added and averaged out, which would determine your final mark. And mark allocation for each subtask appears as a percentage under each requirement. So as I told you earlier, there are 4 tasks. Your exam is divided into 4 main areas, or there are 4 tasks. Under each task, you would have 2 or 3 subtasks. And under each subtask, a percentage or a weightage is provided. So for instance, let's assume in task number 1, there are 3 subtasks. Under subtask number 1, a percentage of 50% appears. So that what that means is 50% of the marks are allocated for the first subtask. And this percentage, as I told you earlier, can be used to determine the mark allocation, as well as the timing you need to spend on each and every subtask. Okay, so that's why you need to know what to do with this percentage given under each subtask. You'd understand these things better if you attend the 3rd webinar, which I'm doing in another 2 weeks time, where I'll be talking about answering technique. Because in order to pass the case study examination, it's of utmost importance that you come up with something called answer plans. So 1/3 of your allocated time should be spent on coming up with an answer plan or structure for the entire answer. After you had come up with the structure, you are supposed to compare your answer plan with that of the task to figure out whether you had fulfilled all the requirements highlighted in the task. After planning the answer only, you have to start typing your fully fledged answers. Okay, so there's a methodology which you need to adhere to. I will be talking about these things later on in webinar number 3. So in webinar number 3, I will be taking you through a mini mock which I have prepared, and I'll be taking you through the questions as well as the answers. And after attending that session, you'd understand the quality, the type of answers you are supposed to provide, and the quality of answers which are expected by the examiner. And the marks are allocated based on merit. So the examiner prefers quality over quantity. I've met so many students in my 10 years of CIMA tutoring career. I've met so many students who, after the exam, who would say, okay, I'm really confident about passing the exam because I wrote paragraphs and paragraphs of answers. Just because you come up with paragraphs and paragraphs of answers, it does not mean that you would gain marks, because whatever the points which you are highlighting in your answer, it needs to be in line with the considered company. It needs to be in line with what is tested as part of the question. So if you are coming up with irrelevant points, you won't get marks just because you have come up with chunks and chunks of information. So the examiner prefers quality over quantity. Right. Sorry. Then let's try to figure out what the examiner is telling us. Let's try to understand the psychology of the examiner to figure out how we can easily pass the case study examination. So the examiner is saying good answers require these things. So the examiner tells you what entails as a good answer. Relevance to the requirement. So as I suggested earlier, as I highlighted earlier, your answer needs to be totally relevant to the question at hand. Just because you write paragraphs and paragraphs of answers, you won't pass the examination. So your answers needs to be relevant to the company as well as the requirement at hand. And technical knowledge is tested. So I highlighted this point earlier as well. At the operational level, a higher weightage is provided to test your technical knowledge pertaining to E1, P1 and F1 related areas. And out of these three syllabuses, P1 and F1 areas are heavily tested in your exam. And just having technical knowledge won't help you. As I told you earlier, just because you know E1, P1 and F1, you can't pass the exam. You need to know how to apply that knowledge in your answers as well. Okay, so hopefully after attending webinar number 3, you'd understand what type of an application you need to adhere to when bringing in knowledge from E1, P1 and F1 related areas. And you need to provide well-structured answers as well. So that I was talking about something called an answer plan. I said 1/3 of your time should be allocated to come up with an answer plan, which is the structure of your entire answer. And based on that only, you have to start typing your answers. So you are supposed to provide well-structured answers. And when providing answers, you are supposed to use paragraphs. You are not supposed to use bullet points or single-lined sentences. Always when you are highlighting an answer or when you are bringing forward a point, an answer point, you need to do it in paragraphs. And on top of that, you need to know how to use your headings and subheadings as well. Because if you structure your answer properly, if you stick to the format or the expected format of the examiner, it makes the examiner's life easier when allocating marks. All right. So all these things I'll be talking about later on in the third webinar. And you can't provide general answers or generalized answers. Always you need to justify your arguments. So for instance, you cannot just say the company needs to adopt activity-based costing. You need to say why the company needs to adopt activity-based costing, talking about the pros and cons of activity-based costing. So likewise, you need to provide justifications all times. Then before the exam, the examiner is telling you to do certain things before the exam. You are supposed to study all areas of syllabus. Yes, definitely. You need to go through all the relevant content pertaining to E1, P1 and F1. You can't leave anything out, because if you do, let's assume you left out regression analysis, and there's a question about regression analysis. Usually a regression analysis question carries a weightage of 50%. So if you don't know the answer, if you had not studied that area, then definitely you won't gain marks for that certain subtask. So it's of utmost importance that you study all syllabus areas. And especially this is relevant to students coming through the FLP program or the finance leadership program, because since you are coming through the exemption route, it does not mean that you have all the knowledge pertaining to E1, P1 and F1 areas. Okay, so it's suggested that you go through the syllabus content before you attempt the real exam. And application to the scenario. So before the exam, you need to understand how you can apply theoretical knowledge to a given scenario, which is highlighted in the question. So how can you know how to apply your knowledge? By doing mock exams. So it's of utmost importance that you practice mock exams. So that's exactly what the examiner is telling you next. Practice tasks as much as possible. Yes, so the examiner is asking you to practice mock exams. And when practicing mock exams, just doing 1 or 2 mock exams won't help you. You need to do at least 5 mock exams, exam standard mock exams, fully fledged mock exams. Why am I suggesting that you do 5 mock exams? Because you can't cover the entire operational level syllabus via 2 or 3 mock exams. It takes 5 mocks to cover the entire syllabus. So it's better to know the entire syllabus before you go to the exam. So it's of utmost importance that you go through 5 exam standard mock exams, and just going through the questions and the suggested answers won't help you. You need to practice writing or providing answers to these questions. You need to practice or attempt 5 mock exams at least. And the examiner is asking you to take time to type or write full answers. So that's exactly what I told you right now. You need to practice 5 mock exams, or else you would find it hard to provide proper answers at the real exam. So that's what you are supposed to do before the exam. And during the exam, you need to plan your answers before you start typing your answers. So again, I highlighted this point previously. I said I was talking about answer plans. So it's of utmost importance that you come up with answer plans, because if you do not plan your answer properly, the quality of your answer will be really less. Okay. And I said that the examiner prefers quality over quantity, and the marker is under strict instructions to mark answers on their merit. So that's exactly what I told you. Quality over quantity. Examiner picks quality over quantity. Right. So I was talking about mock exams and what are the best practice when it comes to what is the best practice when it comes to attempting mock exams. You have to attempt a minimum of 5 mock exams, as I told you earlier, because you can't cover all the syllabus content in just 2 or 3 mock exams. You need to have 5 mocks. And when practicing these mocks, it's better if you can practice under simulated exam environments. It's better if you can replicate the day of the exam. So it's better if you can use a similar online platform. So you might be already aware of this. CIMA provides an exam platform which is provided by Pearson VUE. Okay, so if you can, when practicing your 5 mock exams, if you can practice it on a similar online platform, it's better. And we at TCS had prepared an online mock exam platform which gives you the possibility to get yourself accustomed to real exam conditions. So when writing your answers, you can write on our online mock exam platform, so that you would find it easier when typing answers in the real exam. And when attempting mock exams, it's better to replicate the time of the day as well as the conditions of the exam room. Now, for instance, let's assume you had booked your exam for 9 a.m. If that is the case, when attempting your mock exams, it's better to attempt at the same time, because then psychologically you are prepared for the real exam. And on top of that, when attempting mock exams, try to replicate the exam conditions. Try to isolate yourself when attempting exams, so that you can keep out all disturbances. And if you had selected remote testing because of COVID-19, CIMA has given you the opportunity to do your exams at home. So if you select remote testing, try to attempt your mock exams in the very same place where you are going to do your real examination. And seek personalized feedback. Yes, so this is important as well. If you are a student who had aced your OTQ syllabus content, aced those OTQ examinations, and on top of that, if you are really comfortable with self-studies, if you can go through the question, go through your answer and compare your answer to the suggested answer to figure out whether you had attempted the mock exam properly. If you can do it on your own, then that's fine. You need not seek personalized feedback. However, if you feel that you need some help, if you feel that it's better if somebody else can go through your answer script, then it's better if you can seek personalized feedback. And seeking personalized feedback is of utmost importance, especially when you look at students coming through an exemption route such as the FLP. Okay. And practice builds thinking, speed, and confidence. So if you practice 5 mock exams, then your thinking will improve. So when you're attempting the first mock exam, you know that your answers are jittery. However, once you're in the third, fourth, and fifth mocks, you'd know how to apply knowledge, how to relate to the question, how to relate to the company. So practice, practice, and practice, because the examiner is asking you to practice. Okay, so practice builds thinking. You can improve your thinking, speed of thinking, as well as speed of answer planning, as well as typing, as well as all these things. When you had practiced, it leads to a high level of confidence. And do not reproduce suggested answers in the exam. Okay, so I am asking you to do 5 mock exams and go through the suggested answers. Just because you go through suggested answers, you're not supposed to replicate the same answer in the exam, because the numbers or the facts provided in your real examination could be a bit different to what you saw in the mock papers. Okay, so I've seen students memorizing suggested answers. You're not supposed to memorize suggested answers, because the CIMA examiner is trying to replicate a real life work environment. So in a real life work environment, when you go to office, if your manager is asking you a question, you won't know about it beforehand, and you can't memorize anything and go to office. So because of that, suggested answers should be used as a means of improving your answer, trying to figure out how to apply your knowledge and whatnot, and trying to cover syllabus content. Other than that, you are not supposed to memorize answers, because it doesn't make any sense. Okay, so please don't produce suggested answers in the exam. Right. So having said that, let me talk about what we offer at TCS. We offer 2 packages. So this is the first package which we are offering, which is the essential pack. This includes a full pre-scene analysis, this gives you access to 4 pre-scene analysis videos. So as I suggested earlier, or as I highlighted earlier, your pre-scene document is divided into 4 main areas: introduction, company dynamics, industry dynamics, as well as a financial analysis. So all these 4 videos are divided into the same parts. And if you go through the annotated pre-scene as well as the 4 pre-scene analysis videos, then you would have all the necessary information or the knowledge about the pre-scene, which actually helps you in the real exam. And we are providing something called an annotated pre-scene as well. I will be showing you a sample in another minute. Okay, highlighting what an annotated pre-scene is about, how it looks like. And I have carried out an industry analysis as well, drawing from real life examples, which helps you better understand the industry in which your selected company is operating. And the most important product of this package is the 5 exam standard mock exams and suggested answers which we are providing. And these 5 exam standard mock exams cover all the areas which can be tested in your exam, covering P1, F1, and E1 related areas. And there's a separate set of slides for financial analysis, taking you through the financial statements. So I've carried out horizontal analysis based on the P&L, the SOFP, and the statement of cash flows. And on top of that, I've done a ratio analysis as well, where we are trying to figure out about the profitability of the company, looking at and we'll be looking at the activity ratios, the liquidity ratios, as well as the gearing ratio. All right, so that's financial analysis. Then I'll be suggesting top 10 likely issues or top 10 likely themes which can be tested in the real exam. And you'd be able to get your hands on the OCS familiarization kit, and you'd have access to a WhatsApp discussion forum. I think you might be already part of the WhatsApp discussion forum. We have about 100 odd members there, and you can learn from each other, learn from your colleagues. And if you have a question, you can post it, and there are us, the tutors at TCS, are on that group as well. So we'll be always ready to help you with your CIMA studies. And we are giving you guys a pass guarantee as well. So let's assume you, after purchasing our product, you end up failing, which is not going to actually happen. It's highly unlikely that you're going to fail after going through our content. However, let's assume you end up failing. In the subsequent session, we will be providing all the material free of charge and all the support you need. Okay, and the price of this package is GBP 99. Then the value pack has everything which I highlighted about previously as part of the essential pack, but you have something in addition as well. So you have access to the online mock exam platform. I said that when doing your CIMA case studies, you'll be attempting or you'll be attempting your exam as well as providing answers on the Pearson VUE system. So we had replicated a similar system as part of our learning management system. So you can, when attempting all your 5 mock exams, you can attempt it under exam conditions, which is timed. All these mocks will be timed. And there's a separate, there would be a separate page for reference material and whatnot, just like the real exam. And you can do all these things. You can gain access to this mock exam platform if you purchase the value pack. And there's professional marking and feedback on 3 of the mocks. So for mock 3, 4, and 5, I myself will be providing professional feedback, highlighting the areas which you need to improve so that you can easily pass the examination. And at the very end of the feedback, I will be providing a mark breakdown as well, which helps you better understand the areas where you have excelled at and the areas where which you need to improve upon. And on top of that, you get your hands on theory recaps for E1, F1, and P1 areas. And especially if you are coming through the FLP route, as the examiner has suggested, you need to know the theoretical content. So it's of utmost importance that you go through these theory recaps pertaining to E1, F1, and P1 areas. And the investment is pounds 199. All right. So having said that, let me take you through some sample material. Okay, so I said that I'll be showing you some sample material in today's session. So this is the operational case study, the pre-scene document. I was talking about a pre-scene document. So this is the pre-scene document which was meant for the previous session. And as you can see, I've provided on annotations on the side of the pre-scene, thereby highlighting or bringing out all the main points. So if you go through these points, you'd know what to remember and what to leave out. Okay, so as you can see, throughout the pre-scene, I've brought out all the information out, and on top of that, I've made some suggestions about probable areas which can be tested. You can see it in here. E1 and P1 I've highlighted based on the information pertaining to the directors of the company, what can be tested in your real exam. So likewise, the entire pre-scene is analyzed and annotated. So that's a glimpse of the type of content which you would get your hands on. And on top of that, I said that we do an industry analysis, a set of slides for industry analysis as well. So these are the content. So you can see all the information about the selected industry, the market dynamics, market shares, market capitalization and whatnot, industry trends. Then I've provided real world examples as well, which helps you better understand the pre-scene at hand. Okay, so that's that. And I want to take you through the type of feedback we provide at TCS. So as you can see, I've written all my comments here. I've commented on all paragraphs of these answers provided by the student. And as you can see, the student had, under this part, the student had only given a single-lined answer, but my feedback goes on for 2 paragraphs. Okay, so likewise, I've given comprehensive feedback, and at the very end, I give general comments highlighting about the writing style, the writing technique, and whatnot, the areas which you can improve upon. And on top of that, I will be giving a mark allocation as well, which helps you understand the areas which you need to polish up. And this is a sample of the type of revision cards you'd get your hands on. So F1 related areas, these are the international accounting standards, or the IFRSs, which are tested in your real exam. So all these content pertinent to all these areas are highlighted in here. So that's that. And you can access free content as well as samples and everything once you go on our website. So the pass rates and everything is here. Okay, if you go through the FAQ sections, you can get your hands on the samples. All right, so having said that, we are at the Q&A session. If you have any questions, you can switch on your mics and talk, or post your questions on the chat section. Any questions, folks? Any doubts?
Who would you get to peer review your answer to a mock exam?
In the sense, peer review, in the sense, who's are you talking about the quality of our answers?
Well, say I did one at home. I don't know whether my answers are right. Who would I get to have a look at it without paying?
Yeah, so that's where personalized feedback comes in. So after, now if you purchase the value pack, as I told you earlier, you can write your answers on the mock exam platform itself. And once you are done, within 24 hours, I will be providing personalized feedback to you. Okay, so that's how you can make sure that you give better answers at the real exam. I hope I addressed your concern.
Sort of. I was talking about if I was doing it all by myself.
All by yourself, yeah. So if you are doing, if you're attempting all by yourself, then it's you who would need to, go through your answers, compare it with the suggested answer, and figure out where you had gone wrong and where you need to improve. So that's exactly why I said, if you're comfortable with self-study, if you had aced your OTQ examinations, you are more than welcome to go through the suggested answers, compare the answers which you have provided with the suggested answers, and figure out on your own where you had gone wrong.
Okay, thank you.
Welcome. Any other questions, folks? Any questions, any doubts?
So when the pre-scene is available next Friday, is it available for us to download individually?
Yes, you can, because it would be on the CIMA website, so you can go and get it downloaded from there.
Brilliant, good, thank you.
Welcome. Anything else, folks?
And I assume that if we have a go at it, like read through the pre-scene and then, make a load of like a plan, like ideas about what might be asked, we can discuss that and share that with you next week or the week after.
I'm sorry, I didn't get you fully. Can you please repeat the question?
Okay, so next week,
okay,
when we download the pre-scene, say I were to have a go making notes, imagine what type of things might be asked, what's important, pull things from P1 and F1. Will there be an opportunity either in the next Zoom session or the one after to put those ideas to you to get some feedback?
Yes, indeed. So you need not actually wait until the next 2 sessions. If you are part and parcel of the WhatsApp group, you can just post your concerns there, or you can get in touch with the tutors are there, obviously. So you can get in touch with the tutors. So I would actually suggest you to put all your, put out all your thoughts on the WhatsApp group so that the others can contribute as well, not just the lecturers, but your colleagues as well. Okay. And if you have any suggestions or questions relating to probable areas which can be tested, definitely in the next session you can raise these concerns in the Q&A session so that we can discuss and figure out what can be tested and what will be left out. Okay.
Excellent. Yeah, good. I'd forgotten about the WhatsApp group. I am indeed a member, so that's a really good forum. Thank you.
Okay, welcome. Anything else, folks? Any other questions?
I'm done. Thank you.
Sorry. Can you
Yep.
hear me?
Yes, I can.
Can you go back to the package you are offering? There's other one. How much again? The first one?
You need package information. Okay.
Yes.
So this is the essential pack. The investment is pounds 99 and the value pack is pounds 199.
Okay, the other one again, the first one, I just want to see something. Okay, that one, there's no feedback from you. Okay, suppose I take that one.
Yeah, because in the essential pack, we are not providing feedback.
Okay. But there's 5 mocks and you suggested that's okay.
Yeah, so if you're comfortable with self-study, you can go ahead with this pack.
Okay. You see, then also from your discussion for today, I mean, I pick up some points because this is it's going to be my 3rd time now of writing operation case study. The first one was really bad. Second one was almost 77%. I mean, I just missed up 3%. But now I pick up something when you are talking about paragraphing all this stuff. I think I was messing up there.
All right. So I would actually suggest you to attend the next 2 webinars as well, especially the third one, where I'd be taking you through, as I told you guys earlier, I'd be taking you through the through a mock exam as well as a suggested answer, and I'll be showing how to come up with an answer plan, how to structure your answer properly. I'll be practically actually showing it in the webinar itself. So after attending that, you'd know what to do, I guess.
Yeah, it's like the last one, not this one, because okay, I mean, I skipped this one because I mean, I was traumatized like that. But you see, I was, I mean, overconfident. I mean, after exam, I said, no. I mean, all the theories they come today, I mean, all the subtasks, what, I think I was able to answer, maybe because of quality, I mean, over quantity, maybe that's all.
Okay.
Thank you very much. Okay, let me stop there.
All right. Welcome. Any other questions, folks? Anybody else has any questions? So this is how you can contact us. You can contact us through our website or via email, or just simply drop me a message on WhatsApp or on the WhatsApp group. And You can follow us on all these social media handles, especially on YouTube, because we'll be posting all these videos on YouTube so that you can benefit from it. And concluding thoughts, approach OCS as an opportunity to learn rather than an exam to pass. All right, folks. So thank you very much for joining in. I appreciate your presence. So I hope to see you next week, next Saturday, where I'll be taking you through the pre-scene analysis document. So thanks, guys. Good night. Take care.